More breaking news tonight. Did the nation's highest-ranking law enforcement officer lie to Congress about his knowledge of a botched government gun trafficking program? House investigators today subpoenaed the Attorney General Eric Holder and other top Justice Department officials, demanding they turn over communications relating to the Operation Fast and Furious probe. That operation tried to trace the illegal flow of weapons from the United States to Mexico's drug cartels by actually allowing some U.S. guns to go south of the border. It was shut down after some of those guns turned up at murder scenes in both Mexico and here in the United States. House Oversight Committee Chairman Darrell Issa accuses the Attorney General of lying when he told the committee he didn't learn about the operation until just a few weeks before his testimony last May. Today's subpoenas should provide a paper trail.
And when we do a subpoena, we often get overly redacted documents. This is not the most transparent administration, at least in some areas. However, we have a constitutional obligation. We'll do it, and we'll do it according to the rules.
Let's dig deeper now. The House Oversight and Government Reform Committee join us. Maryland Representative Elijah Cummings, he's the committee's top Democrat, and Utah Republican Representative Jason Chaffetz. Congressman Chaffetz, I want to start with you as a Republican here. This is the nation's highest-ranking law enforcement officer, and I'll grant you there are some legitimate questions to be answered here, but when people are using terms like lying, negligent, incompetent, before you have the paper trail, isn't that a bit reckless?
Well, we want to be very careful on how we articulate this, but remember, we got two dead agents. We have 2,000 weapons that are unaccounted for, and I feel like we have been misled, because for the Attorney General to come to Congress and say, well, you just heard about it a couple weeks ago, and the documents show otherwise, it doesn't add up.
Well, Congressman Cummings, let's get to one of the questions here. Let's first listen to the Attorney General. He came before this committee back in May. Here's what he said.
When did you first know about the program, officially, I believe, called Fast and Furious? To the best of your knowledge, what date?
I'm not sure the exact date, but I probably heard about Fast and Furious for the first time over the last few weeks.
He says over the last few weeks. That is on May 3rd, 2011. Listen to this interview the President of the United States, not the Attorney General, the President of the United States, had with CNN Espanol back in March.
There have been problems. I heard on the news about this story that Fast and Furious, where allegedly guns were being run into Mexico, and ATF knew about it but didn't apprehend those who had sent it. Eric Holder, the Attorney General, has been very clear that he knew nothing about this. We've assigned a IG, Inspector General, to investigate it.
It begs the question, how did the President know about this in March, and how did the President know the Attorney General knew nothing about this in March when the Attorney General says in May he just learned about it a couple weeks ago?
I think the Attorney General will clear that up, but the fact still remains that the Attorney General sent to our committee a lengthy letter just this weekend explaining the situation, and I think that needs to be cleared up. Keep in mind that I believe that Fast and Furious was a very unfortunate situation, sadly, that ended in the deaths of two agents. But at the same time, I think we have to be very careful as to how we proceed. I mean, I think we need to go where the evidence leads, but we've got a subpoena that has just been issued that is literally requesting tens of thousands of documents from the Justice Department, and many of these documents are totally unrelated to Fast and Furious. So you got to begin to ask the question, what is this about? Is this about trying to score some political points, or is it about what our committee is supposed to be about, that is government reform, and I emphasize oversight and government reform.
Congressman Chaffetz, what about your colleague's point that are you going too far? Are you asking for too much? Are you overstepping your bounds and going from oversight into a political witch hunt?
Well, no, we want to make sure that this never, ever happens again. We have 2 dead agents. We have hundreds of crimes committed by these guns. We just in the last few days heard about the Sinaloa cartel having over 100 guns. We essentially gave guns to bad guys that we knew were killing people and doing these nefarious things. So we want to make sure that this never, ever happens again. But there are so many unanswered questions from this administration. They pledge openness and transparency, but that's not what we're getting. And so the Attorney General does not, his statement does not line up with the President knowing back in March that supposedly Attorney General Holder didn't know about this, just as you pointed out.
It could just be a matter of being more precise. Correct, though, Congressman Chaffetz?
No,
the President said this in late March. The Attorney General comes in early May. So there's a 5 or 6 week period there. He says a few weeks. It could be, do you concede the point, that he was just not as precise as he should have been, that there's not a scandal here?
Well, you can see where people can easily conclude it's either incompetence or he's just flat out lying. We want to know.
John, not one single person has appeared before our committee saying that Eric Holder was briefed with regard to Fast and Furious and the horrible tactics that were used. Not one. And
but we have memos. We have at least 5 memos with Eric Holder's name on them.
There are memos, but again, that has been cleared up in the letter that was sent to us this weekend, where he basically states that there are memos that come across his desk all the time.
Let me jump in and read from that letter. Here's what the Attorney General said to your committee. Given the volume of material to which I must devote my attention, I do not and cannot read them cover to cover. Here, no issues concerning Fast and Furious were brought to my attention because the information presented in the reports did not suggest a problem. Congressman Chaffetz, to you first. I understand you have legitimate questions here, but do you read everything that comes to you in your office?
Well, look, you have Lanny Brewer, who is the Deputy Attorney General. You have the
Congressman, do you read everything that comes to you in your office?
I should, and I should be held accountable. This is a major investigation. It's a major investigation. And if you have the Chief of Staff and you have the Deputy Attorney General in Lanny Brewer, who got briefed not just once or twice, but on a regular basis, and you have 2 dead agents. The President of the United States knew about this back in March. How can the Attorney General back then in May say that he knew nothing about it until just a couple weeks ago? That does not add up.
Congressman Cummings, what does the Attorney General have to do? If you're convinced he can put this behind him, what does he have to do?
I think that, John, he has to come up and say what he has said in his letters and make it clear under oath. But at the same time, I want to make sure that we are not harming any pending cases, that we are not putting FBI informants in jeopardy. And the FBI has already said that they are concerned about those kind of things. And when I say in jeopardy, John, I mean possibly being killed. This is serious business. And so I think we have to be very careful with our words and accusing the Attorney General, the highest ranking attorney in the country, calling him accessory to murder and things of that nature. I think that's totally inappropriate for our committee, and we should not be engaged in that.
Congressman Chaffetz, are you putting other lives at risk, additional lives at risk, by demanding this sensitive information?
No, we don't want to get in any way in the way of any investigation that they're doing into those nefarious characters. There has been no adequate explanation. It begs one, and I do agree with Mr. Cummings that until the Attorney General comes before Congress under oath and explains it, these questions will continue to be out there.
So when will that be? When will that be? If you say there's a cloud over the nation's highest law enforcement officer and other top officials in his department at a pretty critical time, and these guys do pretty incredible and critical work, when will that be? Congressman Cummings, to you first. You're the ranking Democrat.
Well,
you have friends in this administration. When can you get the Attorney General up there?
John, I don't run the committee. The person who issues subpoenas, sometimes without even consulting us, is Mr. Issa. So you'd have to ask him that question.
Congressman Cummings, Congressman Chaffetz, appreciate your time today, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
All righty.